Well, this is the real A Town, and this is TK, and we are fucking making a random ass podcast that we're just gonna upload here for Yu-Gi-Oh. We had the idea for a while, but now we are just fully committed to it. So, say what's up, Ton.
What's up, people? It is Ton.
Now from here, the first, I guess, topic is just overall the history of Tier 0 formats, and the reason why we're talking about it in general is just because of, Snake Eye is still really strong, and for, at least before the recent ban list hit, where they, banned Baron, Savage, and stuff like that, if you weren't playing any variation of Snake Eye, you more than likely lost. Which, didn't mean that you couldn't win any, competitive match against them. But it dwindled down into hand trap wars, and that ended up becoming really degenerate. And so a lot of people, are not going to become a fan of that. And so now we're thinking, what other Tier 0 formats have we had that felt as bad? Although personally, if you ask me, I like Tier 0 formats because they simplify what I have to do in a tournament where I just enjoy being able to have a limited supply of what I need to put in my side deck. And especially in Snake Eye, last month, that shit was very easy because I just had to worry about like two decks really, Branded and the Mirror.
That's fair, but it's still weird that in this Tier 0 format, there's a lot of rogue decks going around that you kind of need to be prepared for. Otherwise, they're just gonna get their gimmick off on you. I think a matchup like that is Stun. I think that's a deck if you don't prepare for, even in Tier 0, they're just gonna get you.
Stun is crazy because Stun has never really changed from back then. And if anything, it improved and was improving for a while until Konami finally put their thinking caps on and said, you know what? Let's start limiting some of these continuous traps or banning them outright, really. Recently, we saw the banning of There Can Be Only One, Goes and Match, Anti-Spell, Rivalry, and they banned Summon Limit. That's right.
Yeah.
So I just hate Stun. I get it, players either get really bored of a certain format, or they just don't want to interact with the format like that, right? So of course they're going to have their day, and when their day is made, then they're just gonna feel really nice about it. And my least favorite aspect of Stun is Runic Stun. I can elaborate further, but I'll definitely do that here later. But yeah, no, you're right. You're right. Where right now, you could still argue that Snake Eye is Tier 0 because like the deck's power really hasn't shifted too much. All they did was lose the synchros, or at least the good ones, right? But now you have to worry about like Tenpai. Voiceless got a bit better. Brandon's still kind of shit, but you still gotta worry about it because if they gimmick puppet lock you, then like you're done, right?
Branded is one of those decks that you kind of don't have to worry about in a way, because in my opinion, when you play against Branded, they either open insane to where nothing you do will stop them and they're gonna puppet lock the fuck out of you, or they open so bad that a single hand trap can stop them. That's been my experience with Branded.
The Branded experience is just really tough in my opinion, because sometimes it's just like, do I have it or do I not have it against them? And that leads to my next fucking deck here currently, Tenpai. Dude, I'll play against Tenpai and I'm playing Snake Eyes, right? So I'm feeling confident, and then they'll open like every board breaker in the book, and then I just get OTK. Like there's no in between. It's either they don't have it or they do.
Yeah, I have to agree. Tenpai is just one of those Unga Bunga decks that's, in my opinion, not a very skillful deck, because like you said, it's either that they have all the hand traps or they have the board breakers, or they don't. If they don't, they're not going to OTK you, and it's pretty difficult for them to OTK you if they don't have those cards. So You're right. They have it or they don't. It's such an unga bunga deck to me. It's
Yeah.
similar to Flu in that, like, when you play Flu, you just play your own cards, and you just hope that gets you there. And I think Tenpai is the same, in that there's no, like, skillful outplay with Tenpai. Not that said that there's no skill at all, of course, but it's, I think, the least... It's just a deck where you have the least control of your outcome based on the cards that you have at hand.
Yeah, it just feels bad, but not to veer off too much from the discussion here. In general, we want to know, or at least in our opinions, what the most powerful Tier 0 deck really was in all time. And for me, I have to go with tier limits.
That's a fair argument. I'm gonna let you do a lot of talking on that one because I wasn't playing during tier, so I can't really say it. But I've seen a lot of videos and a lot of gameplay of it that really showed how broken tier was.
Well, my agreement with tier limit is just that the deck was just really able to shit out a lot when it came to the gameplay interactions that you're able to manage if you're playing literally against any other deck, and let's assume you don't get shifted, right? You just have so much recursion and a lot of power on the board and in graveyard that it's really hard for a player to really try to break through it and then establish a board where tier could not come back from. And of course, it got really powerful with the introduction of the Shizus and the Bestials. And so for me, I think that deck was the strongest because, when we look at Snake Eye and the reign that it had for about a month and a half, people were main decking a lot of hand traps, like up to 15 if possible, right? Sometimes even 18 if you played the actual deck. And you're also playing cross out because if you're playing against, the mirror, you don't really want to get hand trap war, and you want to be able to establish your board as best as possible. When we look at tier though, we're talking about like 70-80% of the deck list were tier. People were playing Flu, people were playing Sprite, but in my opinion though, I do not think those decks had a shred of of a chance against tier limit, no matter what. D-shifter aside, right? Because they had to main deck Bestials to be able to combat against tier limits, and that really wasn't even enough a lot of the times. And so to shift a format so much to where you have to play a certain engine and then that engine becomes expensive despite being supers is incredibly crazy to me. And I think to this day, if tier limit had the Ishizus, it had the Heralds, Kitkalos, everything that made them good back then, I think we would be seeing a very heavy split format of tier versus Snake Eye, and it would be like in tier's favor, in my opinion, 99% of the time. Because Rule Kalos, Kaleido Heart, Soliak, the counter trap, having the access to Heralds, Medora, Keldo, or Kelbeck, and multiple copies of at that is just really fucking powerful, and it's something that you'd really have to prepare against. And I think that would shift players to just want to play the deck instead.
I think you're right. I agree with all that sentiment. I think if tier is at full power now, I'd probably agree with that. I think it would be stronger than Snake Eye because of I think the end boards it makes are a lot bigger. I think Snake Eye requires a lot of resources, in my opinion, to go into the boards it can now. Unlike tier, I feel like can do it a lot more easily, and that gives it the oomph over it. In my opinion, I think the best tier 0 deck of all time is Goki. And I know Goki, I know we were talking about this earlier, but Goki has a bad matchup against tier because if you hand her tier, they plus. But against any other deck, I think Goki just absolutely dominates. Full power Goki was a menace. In tier format, I've rarely heard people say that you need to go first against tier or you lost. Right? I've heard a lot of people say tier was a lot of representation. I've heard a lot of people say tier was incredibly powerful. But I think the most tier 0 decks, the most oppressive formats, are ones where you have to win the die roll format. And Goki was just one of those formats because first off, as soon as you start playing against a Goki player, your game becomes a 50-50. if you lose the die roll, you're losing game 1 and you're losing game 3 because you couldn't hand trap them. Against Snake Eye, if you open 2 hand traps, 3 hand traps, they're probably not playing. But against Goki, if you played 2 to 3 hand traps just to try and stop them, you were gonna lose. They played through Ash, they played through Imperm, they played through Ogre and Droll, they played through basically everything, and no matter what you did, you were going to get hand looped. So I think in a format to where there's no counterplay for you to beat the deck other than playing it and praying you get to go first, that feels like one of the most tier 0 decks to play against. I can't imagine Goki right now in this format playing against Snake Eye, because I think, of course, if Snake Eye goes first, they win. But there's always those odds of that guy becoming very lucky and just winning every die roll, similar to Ignoble Knight, I think, where if they just got to go first, they would win. You know, so yeah. I think Goki was just so oppressive in his format to where you just couldn't beat it unless you were playing it, I feel like. So that's why my nominee for like best tier 0 deck ever is Goki.
You know, I will admit what Goki had in its strengths was number 1, what you mentioned with the hand traps. It's such a funny thing because I look back at like a lot of the deck lists that we had, and you know, I'll put some on the screen as we talk about these, of course. But like, it's so crazy how you still played hand traps in that deck to combat against the mirror, and a lot of the times it really did not matter, because I remember a lot of my matches going, do you have combo? They go, yeah, and we immediately go to game 2. And then game 2, it's like, you got combo? Yeah, alright, well, let's jump to game 3. And then game 3, I guess you just had to pray. Like, realistically, I remember just you had to win the die roll. It was no like and ifs or buts. The only way you won is if you fucked up the combo and then your opponent was like, well, I can do a lot right now.
I agree. I remember playing during that format and not playing Goki and just praying. My winning condition at the time when I was playing Pendulums was 1, win die roll, 2, make Dweller, 3, hope to OTK. If I didn't OTK, they were going to win because they would still combo through the Dweller enough to kill it. And yeah, I remember the exact thing you just said. Do you have combo? Was a lot of how my game 2s went if I won that die roll. And I think also what made it so strong was that it was really consistent. It wasn't as consistent as Snake Eye to where you had like 20 starters and all the were 1-card combos. Goki I think was a 2-card combo, but I think that was still a very consistent 2-card combo because it was any 2 Gokis on board, and they were warriors, so they had Rhoda, maybe even at 2 at the time, and Isolde plus the equips. So the odds of them bricking and not comboing was just so low.
Konami has a thing where they'll fucking love to keep the tier 0 decks too, because I remember when they fucking first did a hit for Goki, it wasn't, let's hit Isolde, or let's hit the equip spell, what was the equip spell called?
Divine Sword. I think the banished to add one.
Yeah, Divine Sword. There you go. Because that was just like an infinite resource loop, right? It wasn't hitting, let's say, Summon Sword or any of that. They said, let's ban Invoker. You guys can still play, though. And I was like, what? And I was like, okay, well, I guess I got another whole format full of Goki.
I thought Invoker was banned during a Zoo format.
No. We had Invoker, because there was 3 axes Goki, and there was 4 axes Goki, and then there was just like other variations that you could play, like Dark Warrior, and then when the Dangers came out, you know, like we just had a ton of variations. But before we had like the Danger cards and stuff like that, we had 3 axes Goki where you would go for Invoker, and then you'd be able to do a full combo by summoning 2 free level 3s like Terratop, anything, right? And then you just make Invoker, because I think Invoker was what, a warrior? Yeah, it was a warrior. So then you summon out like the Goki level 3, I think. Or no, you could even summon Suprex actually, because it's any level 4 Earth Warrior or Beast Warrior. And then you just go full combo.
Yeah, it was oh my god, so much PTSD. I feel like it was just so insane because the variations, like you were talking about, were just really good, because I believe it started off as like a U-Link. I think they just U-Link the shit out of you with Ibli, and then they OTK you. And then Gumblar came out, and then they shifted to the hand loop instead, so where you just had 0 cards and they killed you anyway.
Well, they shifted to the hand loop, but they still U-linked you.
Yeah. On top of that, they do link while they hand
And
linked you.
yeah,
So
and they still gave you Ibli because even they didn't ban Mermaid. Mermaid wasn't banned until Orchist was like
yeah,
raining. So yeah, no, like that shit was fucking crazy. And and we gotta think about it, right? Like this was before IP Masquerena and Appaloosa and all that, but it really didn't matter because like not only did they rip your entire hand, but you couldn't link summon, right? You couldn't fusion summon either. Because this was before the master rule changes where they were like, oh no, you know what? Fuck link zones for XC, synchros, and fusions. You guys can just do that. This was before all of that. So that means you couldn't play with your extra deck, so you were locked out of an entire resource. Number two, you maybe had 2, maybe 3 cards in hand to try to play against a unbreakable board, basically, with Trigate Wizard. And also, if they have any cards in hand, like any hand traps, I mean, what else are you really doing against Goki? And I remember getting drolled, and I would finish Goki combo, and like they would have no hand.
yeah.
Like
It's just impossible.
it was just so bad to like play droll and stuff in that format. And I swear to God, like Gumblar had the ability to discard like 3 cards in one turn, right?
It was I don't remember. I don't quite remember. I don't remember. I don't think it was a once per turn, but it was like every time you summon a card to the zone, it points you like discard 2 of your own cards to discard their 2 of theirs. So I think during the combo, during their turn, when they draw, you leave them with 1 card, and then when they draw for a turn, they have 2, and you summon something to Gumblar again, and then rip the last 2.
Yeah, like I need to put Gumblar on the screen here, so like people that didn't play against this card know. But yeah, no, Gumblar was a menace, and in fact, I'm looking back at his card text, and he was also kind of like a time win condition as well. Because I forgot, if you manage to discard the last 2 cards of their hand with his last effect, they take 3k damage. Like, yeah, no, that's just insane, man. Oh, and I think he still had Firewall during that time too. So like the pre-errata.
Yeah, and imagine going a Firewall, searching Goki, and then Firewall summon the Goki that you just searched, and then like just doing that over and over and over. It was insane.
It was so crazy. Goki, the revive spell was like insane too. You just had infinite fucking resources to just go through, and then you ended off on the U-Link board. Like, oh man, I hate thinking about that time again. But like,
it's insane. Like no one. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I would play that nowadays if I had the ability.
You just win the die roll, and then you win half your games right there. Yeah. And then I'm sure you could play through the boards, and I'm sure it would evolve to play board breakers or anything. But I'm just saying, like, against Snake Eye, people who play branded play board breakers. But no one would dare do that against Goki. There's no chance. Like, branded would not be a thing. So I think Goki is the most broken Tier 0 deck, maybe except in the matchup against Tier, where they would maybe get effects.
Well, now here is my question to you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you stick with the idea of Goki being one of the best one of the best decks you could play. However, my rebuttal to that is, what happens to them on a nib?
Was Nib not around back then?
No. Nib came out in the 2019 Megatins. Goki was reigning around mid to late 2018.
Oh shit! Yeah, I didn't know that. Let me think. I don't know the combo, so I don't know at one point they would get nibbed, but assuming they get nibbed as early as possible, I truly don't know. I can't really speak to that.
I mean, I would say that they probably still play through like a Nibiru, but a lot of the hand traps that we were working with did not clear out your opponent's entire board at the time. And like if you put a nib in front of a tier board, they're summoning everything back, or they're triggering their graveyard effects, right? You don't really care as a tier player if you get Nibiru. So
right.
I wonder if like Goki would have had a tougher time if something like that existed beforehand. And then like what else came out in those 2019? Oh, they would not do shit against D-Shifter. Unfortunately,
I feel like
I wonder what would they have done in that time.
How did they combo through Droll then? Because it's D-Shifter is similar to Droll in that they wouldn't get their search effects, right?
So, usually, right, like if you had double Goki, then you had the double search that you had from both of the Goki monsters, one of them being the Reborn and Isolde. And then you would have Summon Sork, and then you would just like go on from there. Like,
Okay.
yeah, no, it was really degenerate back in the day.
Okay. I think the deck would still do really well against Nib in my opinion, because if they summon a bunch of Gokis and then they do a little bit of linking and you nib them, I feel like you just gave them an extra monster to link with, and you also trigger off their Goki effects.
Well, I
So,
think I think the choke point, unfortunately, like with that mindset, is that once they used what was the Reborn? Let me look it up real quick. Oh, there we go. A rematch, right? Like, I'm pretty sure, yeah, Goki rematch. Once they, so, the Gokis were all hard ones per turns to search, right?
Yeah.
And once they use rematch, that's the choke point, in my opinion, to Nibiru, the Goki deck. Because you give them a rock token, and if you have them under draw as well, I don't think they're able to play through that.
I probably think you're right at that point. If you have like Nib and Droll, I don't think they would be able to play through that as well.
Maybe even just through a nib. Like, legit, once they use rematch, if you're able to Nibiru them there, that's the choke point. The only outlier is that Soul Charge was still fucking legal for no reason there.
Yeah. I think if you take the deck and put in a modern lens now, and where their opponent has Nib and Shifter, they at that point would also start having more power cards like Talents and Thrust and other stuff like that.
I guess that's true as well. So like there's just a lot that we could really like look at the deck with.
Yeah. And I imagine the deck would end up playing cross out similar to Snake Eye if they were already a deck that played a bunch of hand traps too.
Yeah.
So I think you're right in that Nib does cause a problem to the deck, unlike Tier. But I think in the modern lens, it does have a little more outplay to it than just losing to it.
True.
Yeah.
I will say though, Goki, when it first started, you played multiple copies, and there's the UDS list that Cam had back in the day, where he showed I only play Suprex, Octostretch, Headbat, Twist Cobra, and double rematch. That's all you need. I was like, damn, bruh, did it really just like compile itself to be just a warrior POW deck that just discarded your entire hand?
Yeah, I think eventually they did shift to. I do remember talking about that format.
Yeah, like it was insane, man. But I would still hold that tier limit's probably the best. However, what do you think about people that say, and this is probably just like PTSD, right, from people back in the day. Do you agree that Zodiacs are like the best tier 0 deck that's ever existed?
The best as in the most powerful, the best isn't like the best to play against?
No, like the most powerful.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I don't.
There's a lot of Redditors that like claim like, oh yeah, let's see. Let me pull up one of their shit. Okay, this guy said Zoo, definitely Zoo. Spiral was strong, but that's because of the cards outside of its archetype and link summoning, gimping everyone else. But like, I don't like the fact that he said that. It's like, they are like the deck like Zodiac also utilize cards like Norden, Dagusto Emerald. Some of them utilize the what are they called? The True Draco package and stuff like that. And like people really think that right now Zodiac, if like we compare all the tier 0 and even give them modern stuff, right, like talents and stuff like that, that Zodiac would be the best to this day.
I think the scariest thing Zoo did was the Luna Light combo OTK where they burned you for 8k. Or was that Pendulum?
No, Pendulum did the Luna Light with the with the fusion. They just copied the fusion name and just burned you for 8,000.
Okay, then I would say Zoo is probably not that powerful. I mean, I certainly think full power Zoo is good and all.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why Dryden's still banned. Maybe Konami knows the fucking sauce. But I think the deck just gets a lot of advantage similar to Snake Eye, but it doesn't have like that oppressive of a board. So I think it cannot break a Snake Eyes board. Like, and like if Zoo goes first, I think Snake Eyes will be able to break the board and make a board. But I just don't.
Yeah.
I don't know. It doesn't make sense. I don't think Zoo full power would really do all that much.
I don't think so either, to be honest.
I'm trying to think of the scariest Zoo board I ran into, and I don't think it was the fact that it like was a big board. I think it was one card combo and made a decent board, and it gave you like 2 to 3 interruptions, which was just annoying. And then they would just outgrind you.
I don't know. Like, I really have to look at like videos from back in the day, because I just do not. I just don't agree with like these people's statements.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what they're on about for Zoo, but it's good. Not tier 0. I remember. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the fact that you could go second against a Zoo deck and still have a chance just kind of shows that it wasn't the most broken tier 0 deck.
Yeah, no. Let's see. Other decks that we have here. Man, what do you think about Cash Tira? Because like, so I placed it in this list, but like even I am not the most familiar with Cash Tira, because let's be real, I did not play during that time where at least not at the very beginning, where they had Mind Hacker and Triple Arise Hard and like everything that they could ever want, right? And also this was after they banned like a bunch of the well, not banned, but limited a bunch of the tier limit cards, the Shizus, banned Kid Kalos, right? But a lot of the times when I look at replays and stuff, like, you know, during that format, I just see a Book of Eclipse just owning the game, or Nibiru.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, board breakers were really strong during cash format. I didn't play during cash format, so I'm not too familiar. But from like what I've watched and what I've seen, board breakers were definitely the way to go, because hand traps just didn't do a thing. I think cash got lucky in its tier 0-ness. I mean, I guess full power cash would kind of shit on Snake Eyes.
Yeah, I mean, if they didn't have like, yeah, if they don't have board breakers against cash, what are they doing to a Rice Heart, banishing everything?
Yeah, I think cash. If you put cash at tiers at full power against Snake Eye, full power, I think Snake Eye would still win, because if cash is truly the best deck, and it's impacting the format in a way to where it is the strongest, you can't play droplets, you can't play stuff, I think people would just shift back to board breakers. And Snake Eyes, instead of playing hand traps, they just play 16 board breakers, whatever the amount is, and they're for sure gonna break the cash board and then combo off and then win. And in a format where no one's playing hand traps, I think they would win.
I mean, 16 board breakers would be insane. I don't know. It'd probably still be just like, what, 6 books, right? You know, Triple Eclipse, Triple Moon.
6 books, Dark Ruler.
Talents,
yeah, 3 Talents, 3 Dark Ruler, 3 Thrust, like...
Probably 3
that's already like 15, 18 cards right there. Like, I think that... This is just my guess on if the format shifted to Combat Cash as the most feared deck. I think Snake Eyes would win if they switch to Board Breaker. But then my logic also gets swapped, because if Snake Eyes becomes the best deck, you must hand trap that deck. And during hand traps, Cash would win.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. So yeah, I guess you could say like in a overall setting, like Cash Tira, pretty fucking strong as a tier 0 deck. I would say like it definitely be the best competitor against tier limits, but again, tier limits could just circumvent it with board breakers, and I'm pretty sure they'd be able to break through the board. So yeah, I don't know. I guess Cash Tira is like a lot stronger than what I'm giving it credit for.
Yeah, I think I'm taking away a little bit of credit when I'm saying it kind of got lucky, because I think obviously came right after the tier hits, so of course it has to be a deck to take its place. I think it was only natural for Cash to become the best deck, and it's tough. Like, the deck's gimmick was just banishing everything, which made it so strong.
Well,
but it was also
You also have to think about Shangri-La, you know, putting up blocking you from being able to use your zones, right?
Hmm. Yeah,
With Mind Hacker, sometimes it did that shit in turn one, and then you actually can't play the game.
yeah, that's true.
I don't know.
Uh,
I don't know.
yeah. Maybe I just get too obsessed on like the die roll because to me, what makes a tier zero deck so oppressing is if you have to win that die roll. And I feel like if there are just ways to out the tier zero deck, it isn't as scary to me because against Snake Eye, you have the hand trap wars. Against Cash, you have the board breakers. There are options and there are ways to beat that deck. Unlike tier, I think, and unlike Goki. So maybe that's why I'm not viewing Cash as highly. Because if I'm not crazy, I think Unchained was able to win a YCS during Cash format too. Was that the one? I think that was like YCS Brazil or something with Pact.
Yeah. Unironically, Unchained had a very good matchup against Cash Tira, and I think Labyrinth as well. But I would never classify Unchained or Lab as tier zero decks, especially not Labyrinth.
I would never classify those as tier zero. I think they're just tier one, maybe at most for Lab.
For that format, yeah.
Yeah. So I guess what I'm saying is like maybe I just feel like during tier format you had to play tier. I don't think there was as many rogue options as there is now. Against Cash, you could name Cash, you could name Unchained, you could name Lab. I'm sure if Snake Eyes was in the game, you could name Snake Eyes. And I against Snake Eyes, there's a couple rogue decks floating around. And now, just like you said earlier, there's Voiceless, there's Sun, there's Branded, there's Cash itself, like the actual Cash deck. I feel like those tier zero decks, quote unquote, aren't as tier zero as we imagine there are anymore. Because if there's just so much competition that you have to worry about, maybe it isn't tier zero, or as tier zero as we think it is.
Yeah, no,
So,
you're probably correct in that statement there.
yeah.
I guess like my overall concern would just be, and I guess it's really with every one of these decks is, are you able to establish your board play and then like oppress your opponent from being able to continue further?
Yeah, I agree.
Um, in that space, right? You know, we can I think exclude a lot of these from the topic. You know, or I'm sorry, I said dark ruler, dragon rulers, spell books. You know, while it was definitely like insane at the time, definitely don't think it would be considered the strongest at this point of time. Because I just, but you bring that into the modern sphere, I'm winning. You summon double Draco Sack, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Good luck.
I feel bad for you.
Spell books as well. I guess spell books just depend. Like Jowgen, yeah, sure, strong. However, I have a card called Imperm, and if they decide to go like, what's the card? Fate or Wisdom that prevents it from being affected?
Wisdom. Yep.
Wisdom, yeah. Then like I just have ultimate like an unlimited amount of ways to just get through that card and just win anyways. Like it just it's not that scary to me. Teledad was insane for its time. I just don't think that it would be that good nowadays. Adamantipator, high key. I think Adamantipator is pretty busted.
Actually, they might have a really good matchup against Goki because like obviously you hand rip Block Dragon and they just summon Block Dragon on their turn and like play and link off and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Synchro.
So that's reasonable.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
reasonable. What's another thing? Pepe. You know what? I would like to talk about Pepe, except I don't really know too much about Pepe.
I don't know too much about Pepe either because I didn't pay attention to OCG. All I cared about was TCG. So when Pepe came in and they got hit a week later, I was like, cool. I don't have to learn or worry about it.
Yeah, right. Like how many days was it available?
I want to say 8 days.
8 days.
I'm gonna see. I'm gonna see if I can look it up right now. But it was incredibly short format. I think I got to play 2 weeks is what I found on Reddit.
2 weeks. Okay. Yeah. Nah. I mean, all I know is that deck did get a lot of advantage, but I really couldn't tell you on what it ended with or how you were able to like play through the deck. Just because it's not something that I'm just very familiar with. I would say though, maybe it wouldn't be insane right now. I definitely wouldn't consider it one of the strongest, but maybe at that time in 2015, it really just was a big ass threat.
Looking back to some of the Reddit and like kind of the boards they make, it looks what made Pepe broken was the extreme consistency, because like every deck is, of course, because you had Plush Mire and you had Monkey Board that overcompensated for for the mechanic of Pendulum being bad. Looking back at YCS Atlanta in 2016, 30 out of the 32 tops were Pepe. So, and this was right after the deck was released, so obviously the deck's insane.
I guess at that point, right, you just gotta make an argument of I don't know any better.
Yeah.
Now,
I probably don't know any better.
Right. Now, Danger Dark World, that deck was scary for a short while, right? I think Jesse Cotton was definitely like popularizing it at the time frame that it was like existing, and it did really well at a YCS, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think what ended up happening is people started main decking Droll, and then it escaped from the fucking server.
Yeah. I didn't play Tournament for it, but I watched, I think, 2 deck profiles over it just to watch it, and it was described as like an extremely degenerate strategy. Yeah, the FTK the shit out of your opponent. I think it came right after Goki format, so it was like the remnants of Gunblard being banned, I believe. Or am I wrong on that one? I think I might be wrong on that one.
That's where my history on that is a little hazy. I would like to say that you're correct, but I honestly could just be wrong. I don't know. That's because what else was good? Like, was Goki still around? I don't think so. I wouldn't say that was a reason why they started playing the FTK. I guess I'm just like, again, misinformed from the time frame because it's just been so long since I've played during that time frame. But I do remember for a while though, Danger Dark World being the talk of the town, and then it just stopped. Next thing here, Spiral. So I was playing Spiral back in the day, and the end board was typically Trigate, the Link 2 Spiral, Ib, and Link Karibo on top. And you also had the bounce card, the trap card rather, for Spiral that was basically a searchable compulse, and the big Spiral, like, the level 8 that was able to pop 2 cards on field, and you had the equip monster on it so that it couldn't be destroyed, and you also had the fucking Spiral field spell, which prevented you from targeting Spiral monsters. That was typically the end board, and it was really strong at the time because you're able to get through the combo, you win. But here's the thing that I also got to say about this: the deck added insanely too much, and with Droll being in relevance even kind of today, it would fuck up Spiral in my opinion.
Droll would fuck up Spiral?
Droll 100% fucked up Spiral. Because the combos always went for you, like, you kept something back quick fix to search more traps so that Master Plan could keep something back. That was the general idea of the deck. And then you would just search infinite Spiral cards, essentially.
Okay, yeah. That makes sense, yeah.
And I think Nibiru nowadays also would make that deck not as scary. Also... Ogre's back in relevance, and the last thing I have to say is I don't know, I really can't remember Imperm being around when Spiral was around. I think Imperm came after Spiral format.
I think that might be true.
Yeah, I think I'm correct in that statement, actually.
And I think you're true. Yeah.
Okay. I guess that really leaves only those. The only other thing I can maybe talk about is Pendulum FTK. Because Pendulum was pretty strong after Spirals got hit. Um, I really couldn't think of like anything else that was as impactful as the decks as we really just talked about. But
Yeah.
yeah. With all this information in mind, though, did you change your mind about the strongest deck in relevance from tier zeros or nah?
No, probably not. I definitely understand your argument for tier. So I think on any given day, I could probably switch the tier. I think definitely the top two are just tier or Goki, just because tier was really strong to where you need to be really skillful to play it. And Goki was just one of those formats that changed the format. It was just a dice roll format, and that those are obviously always awful to play in. I don't think any other tier zero deck can compete, because I think if you look at modern tier zero decks nowadays, I think they would lose a lot more to Imperm,
Yeah.
to Impermanence and Nibiru.
Nah, I would agree. I would agree 100%.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, the next topic here, that was kind of fun to explore. Your overall favorite format, right? Now, as I mentioned before, I love Snake Eye format. I think it's pretty good. I hate getting stacked against Tenpai, but that's just something that I'm gonna have to deal with. Now, in terms of because we've been playing for what, over 10 years. For me, I've been playing for about 12 years, maybe 13 years. How long have you been playing this game?
I've been casually, since like 2012 maybe. Competitively, well, I guess I've been playing since I was a kid, on and off. Got back into it in like 2012.
Yeah.
Competitively, I really only started playing in 2014 with like a 3-year break in the middle of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, 2014 was really when I started understanding formats and trying to play like not like an idiot.
Yeah. For me, yeah, no, so I guess technically I started in 2010. I've always watched the Yu-Gi-Oh anime, and I would buy packs every now and then at the at the locals that was available here, and I looked at my cards and I'm like, oh, Phoenix Gear Free, like this card looks cool. I can't wait to put this in my Warrior deck. And then I made friends with this guy. I'm gonna call him Sama. When I was in 5th grade, and he brought another dude over so that we could all play. And I see that guy's cards, and they're white. And I'm like, what are these? Because I only knew about fusion monsters. Like, literally, my goal back then was to send my Cursed Dragon and my Gaia to the graveyard so I could make the Gaia fusion.
Yeah.
And when I saw his Synchro Monster, I think it was like a Junk Berserker. Dude, I was like, oh, I need to know what these cards are. And ever since then, I just fell in love with Synchro Monsters.
That's funny. I've always been obsessed with the fusion monsters. I've always liked fusions. Could probably get GX is my favorite anime, and Seeking Jaden Fuse is really good. My badass strategy back in the day was to go Marauding Captain for Marauding Captain, and then you can't attack my monsters and pass. That was my grand plan, and I remember playing on the freaking Game Boy games, and I would just try and set that strategy up all the time.
The double Marauding Captain combo.
Yeah, double Maraud, and it was even crazier because you would go, the card Solar Flare Dragon.
Solar Flare Dragon.
Yeah, it's a level 4 fire pyro, 1500 attack, and I think every end phase or something, it burns your opponent for 5. My badass game plan was to go get 2 of those on board so you couldn't attack it, right? You couldn't attack it, you had to kill all the other pyros first. But if there was 2 of them, you couldn't attack it. So that was like my badass plan I tried to do back in the day. I was a burn player essentially.
You're so ass. I'm looking at this card and I'm like, yes, I recognize this fucking card, dude.
That card was fucking goated for me. Oh, that card was so nice.
Yeah, no, For me,
That
it was legitimately just pile a bunch of warriors together, and I'm gonna try to summon Phoenix Gearfried, and hopefully I can swing for game. And that never happened.
I tell you, that's how impactful Solar Flare Dragon was. I haven't looked up this card in years, but I remember its effect word almost effect per effect, man. The stats and everything. The card was so good. Huge impact on my childhood. But anyway, sorry.
What was your first competitive deck then?
Fire Fist.
Fire Fist. So that was what, 2014?
2014. I think I tried playing Black Wings, played a tournament with it, got absolutely destroyed. And I was like, you know what? I think I'm gonna play Fire Fist.
For me, it was technically six. Wow. Technically six Sams. In 2011, because I was playing. I was playing in the 8th grade, and in my middle school, we had a bunch of people that played Dark World. So, you know, we were just like mad that like everyone was just able to summon Grapha for free, and I really wanted to combat that deck, even though it wasn't that good, at least in my opinion. And then I made Gravekeepers. Because a friend of mine had the entire deck, and he also had Stardust in the extra deck, and I was like, oh man, I'm about to win. And so I put up Necro Valley, only to realize that field spells back in the day destroyed when you activate a new one. So,
Yeah, I missed that ruling. That was a good ruling back in the day.
that was a very good ruling back in the day. But you know, back then I thought Necro Valley would stop Grapha and them from coming back from the graveyard. Not true.
Oh yeah, because I remember the ruling. Necro Valley couldn't stop. Like Necro Valley would let cards that move themselves out of the graveyard.
Yeah,
work.
I didn't know that back then. So I was cheating. But you know, I was in the cafeteria just playing against my friends. Like, we didn't know.
Yeah, that's fair. It happens.
Yeah. When I jumped in competitively, it was 2012, and then in 2013, I had a Battle and Boxer deck. I had a Gishki deck, and then I guess right around when I started playing with y'all, I had finished building Fire Fist myself before I gave up the deck and gave you the cards.
Yep, I remember that.
Dude, Rooster was so expensive. It was a $15 secret, but like I look at my secrets now.
Yeah. Like I look at a $15 secret and be like, you know, it's not bad. I only need 2.
Yeah, but like back then, I mean that's all the money I
That was a
had.
lot.
Like
Yeah, that was a lot.
Jeez.
Yeah.
My favorite format, I guess, moving through after that 2014 period had to have been Hat. Hat like was just so good for me. I think the popular decks at the time were definitely, obviously Hat, Sylvans, which is like my all-time favorite deck of that format. You could play Mermails. Mermails I think was pretty good during that time. It's just like no one in our locals played it.
Yeah.
Except for like what? Cheese? Yeah, he played it. You played all the ruler variants. You could play Lightsworn Ruler, Hieratic Ruler. You could play Mythic Ruler. People were playing Blue Eyes Ruler because we got that structure deck for Blue Eyes.
Yep. I want to say a lot of those ruler variations were before Hat. I want to say, and then like the only ones that end up staying around were Mythic and the Lightsworn ruler variants.
The Lightsworn was good though because we got Felice and the entire structure deck as well for them.
Yeah, like Felice was strong.
It was
yeah. Hat was a really good format for me. I think that was my favorite. I think maybe the format before Primal Origin came out, before the artifacts came out, that was probably my favorite, probably because I just got to play Fire Fist all the time and have fun. But Hat was still really good for me. I was also a big fan of Duelist Alliance format, post-Duelist Alliance.
See, that's the format I stopped playing in because I got a girlfriend, and so I dude, I was a 15-year-old in love. I was like, I want to spend time with my bitch. Like, I'm just gonna have my fun with her, and again, I was madly in love. I gave up the game for that. Kind of regret it because I think I missed out on a lot of good Yu-Gi-Oh.
That was honestly some really great Yu-Gi-Oh. It was unfortunate in that it completely changed the meta. Hat wasn't good anymore. Sylvan's wasn't good anymore.
Yep.
All right, so now the best decks that went from Rulers, Sylvans, and Hat became Satellar's, BA, and Shadal's.
Well, they also banned the rulers, right?
I believe too. Yeah, I think they did that too.
And then like Hat just fell out of favorability because Winda could not be destroyed by card effects. You know, like so Firehand was not doing shit.
Firehand, Icehand was not doing shit.
Moral Tech was not doing shit. That thing was at 2100 attack, and Winda happened to be at 22.
Dude, I know they hoed the shit out of it.
Mm-hmm.
They hoed the fuck out of Hat, and they hoed the fuck out of Sylvans too. I think because.
Without rulers, I do not think that deck was very good, and the deck already wasn't very good.
Yeah, I think that deck was on its way out the way it was looking.
Yeah,
I never thought Sylvans was all that great.
My best like memory for that deck though is having triple soul charge, triple upstart, triple soul charge. Like,
yeah, that shit was fucking broken.
Like if you were able to sack your opponent turn 1, you definitely had like Felgrand, Dracosack, and like the rank 7 Sylvan Bird. Like that.
Yeah.
If it was able to get nasty, it was able to get nasty. Either that or Stardust Spark Dragon.
Arbiter was really good. I remember being really mad at Winda because I couldn't Fire King Garunix kill it. And that was when I was like, I'm playing Shadal's. I actually really love Shadal's. When that deck came out, I knew I wanted to play Shadal's. I didn't give a fuck about BA. I didn't give a fuck about Stellarness. I just wanted to play Shadal's.
How good was Shadal in respective to like every other deck though?
It was the second best deck in my opinion. It lost to BA because BA just had all those traps that would stop you from getting your fusions back.
I guess they also played like Phoenix Wind Blast and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, I remember in the BA deck, it was you played all 9, you played Tour Guide, and what they did was they played 3 Karma Cut, 3 Wing Blast, and then maybe a Raigeki Break, and they would just plus off of like killing your cards.
I mean,
and it had a grind game.
Yeah, when you have triple grout, like yeah, you fucking win, man.
Yeah, they were definitely better than the Shadal's. And I think the gap widened whenever they got Fire Lake. So whenever you go Shadal fusion, they just go Fire Lake, send off their extract monsters, and you couldn't fuse except from the hand.
Wait, what did Fire Lake even do?
It was send 2 BA monsters and then pop 3 cards.
Oh man.
Or, yeah, pop up to 3 too. So you could just send 2, not pop anything, and just make sure they can't resolve their fusion from the deck. And so that really took them over the top over Shadal's. But I think for the most part, they were still a really good contender until Necros came around.
Was what was I gonna say? Was Beatrice out, or did it take a while for Beatrice to come?
It was out. It was no, it took a while to come out. Sorry, it came out like 2016 in that gold pack thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many copies were they playing it?
2.
2?
Yeah, I don't think you can make it very easily. You had to like make a Dante and then pitch a BA from your hand to summon Beatrice.
That's true, right? Hard summoning when the Beatrice in the day probably not as simple as you'd want it to be.
Yeah.
I guess that also worked for Ptolemy M7, right? Like that card you usually made a Pleiades and then ranked up.
Yep. Yeah, so I honestly like pre-2014 all the way up to like 2015 was like a pretty good format for me. And then Necros came in and I started enjoying those formats left. I think 2015 to like 2018 or something, that was like a blur of broken shit I was not involved in.
You know, because you know, even though I was in a relationship at the at the time, I still kept up with Yu-Gi-Oh! And when I read the Necros cards, oh man, I wanted to fucking play Necros so bad, dude. Because I was a real big fan of Bryo, Trishula, Gunrear, like all the Ice Barrier Synchros. I loved every single one of them. And I never got to buy the deck because I remember Bryos were like what, $50 per card.
It was worse. I think they were even like 80 per copy.
I think on release they were definitely 90.
Yeah, I think so too. They were. It was an insanely exorbitant price just to play Necros. I mean, Necros was cool, but man, they were a dominant deck, and I didn't enjoy that format as much. 2016 was Pendulum Pepe. The only format I really came to enjoy after 2014 was 2019, and that was toss format.
Bro, toss format was actually insane. And you know, it kind of sucks because I remember it really bittersweet. So it was like Houston who told me, "Oh, you should play Salad, right?" So the moment the structure decks dropped, I bought 3 and I made sure to get triple Sunlight Wolf because for some reason or another, Konami said, "You know what? We're not putting Sunlight Wolf in the fucking structure deck." So that
Yeah,
card was a $10 super. No, it
it
was
was,
a
it was a
$10.
rare.
It was a $10 rare, and when it came out in the OTS pack, it was like a $15 super or $20 super.
Yep.
Man, that shit pissed me off so much.
Yeah,
And
that was the stupidest thing.
but you know what? I fell in love with the deck so much, and I played it day in and day out, only for a couple of like 1 or 2 sets later, Orcus being the best deck of all time in that time period.
Yeah, Orcus was insane. It was either Orcus or Striker the best deck, because Thunder Dragon was good, but they couldn't compete with Orcus.
No, not at all. And this is before they played like all the dragon stuff in it, because I don't think the dragon stuff was out yet.
No, this was before it too.
Also, now that you mentioned that, of course, it was also relevant to point out that Sky Striker also had a pretty good matchup against Salamangreat. I remember
Yeah, I
joining,
believe it.
right, like I remember joining one of Hani's tourneys from like way back then, and I was playing Salad for the tournament, and my round fucking one was Striker, dude. I had to grind so hard to win that one, and it was single elimination, so every win mattered. I entered twice. Unfortunately, anytime I went against Orcus, it just was overpowering, like legitimately.
Actually, Ding Sen now is not a big deal, but Ding Sen back in the day was the scariest fucking thing. You remember that meme when it was like Ding with the gun and it was like Sen?
Yeah, like no,
Yeah.
that was the worst thing of all time for me, because I could never keep a proper card on the board in order to maintain an advantage against the opponent, because they would be able to recycle everything. I mean, Galatea, Longyearsu, like, dude, all that stuff just like kept going back into their deck, and then they just felt nice about it. And the deck only got better. They got access, because you know, initially like they had like the Nightmare Mermaid package still, but like even when they lost that, they gained IP Masquerena into Nightmare Unicorn on your turn. Like, dude, the amount of interruption was insane. Oh, Orochi, like, oh my god.
Oh, Roshi was nasty. Yeah, Orcus was just insanely strong. Even though no matter they were a really strong deck, I still find that format to be really fun, just because I was able to play Striker during that format, so it was a lot of fun for me.
You know, I think Sally got treated really unfair though, because we lost Gazelle to 1 and Circle to 1, but they still kept Orcus really fucking strong. Like, they did not care about that deck at all.
Sally got fucking held on the list, and then it took forever for Orcus to be hit, and this was after new stuff that came out that already could have surpassed Orcus anyway.
No, yeah, like absolutely, and we never got that stuff back until like what, last year?
Yeah, 4 years of bullshit just for Orcus to still be shit.
I remember they also banned Mirage Stalio.
Yes, yeah. They hit the goodest boy for no reason, man. You couldn't even like, yeah, when they hit Gazelle first and Circle, you could always just rank 3 Turbo into Stalio, and then when they got hit, it was like, what the fuck do we do?
Dude, there was just nothing you could do at that time. Like, as a Salad player, I felt so bad, and so I immediately jumped to the Orcus bandwagon. And I'm not gonna lie to you, like, even though that deck was like the best deck during that time frame, I felt bad playing that deck, dude. I did not vibe with Orcus at all.
That's funny because I actually really liked playing Orcus when I played it.
Really? I did not. Like, I was forcing myself to like it, but like, I mean, you saw I kept getting rid of the deck. Like, I just could not vibe with it like whatsoever. I would make the combo, and I'm like, man, this is really boring, dude. Like, I want to play something else. And so once they started hitting Orcus more, that's when I started playing Sky Striker, and I love Sky Striker.
Yeah, Sky Striker is definitely my favorite. I think it was so nice. Yeah, I was playing Orcus and stopped playing for a bit, and then I got back in with Sky Striker. That was such a good deck.
I got in with Striker when Engage was still 100 though. It felt bad. It was hitting my pockets hard, especially because at that time, where was I working at? It was like Oh, I remember. I was no. I was gone from Roadhouse. I was working at Hooters, and Hooters was paying me like 10.50 an hour, and that drive was like 20 minutes away from me. I wasn't even getting 40 hours, but like I was straight 6 or 7 months after graduating high school, and I was like, dude, I just want to play some Yu-Gi-Oh. I don't gotta worry about being in a relationship no more. You know, I want to hang out with my friends, and like I just wanted to escape so bad, dude. So I was like dropping money on Yu-Gi-Oh that I didn't have.
Mm-hmm.
But I gotta tell you, playing Striker really felt good. The mirror felt insane. I was test playing against Houston a lot. Me and him were just like test playing the mirror like all the time. It was just really good. Because you really wanted to learn it. You didn't want to be behind. Short Cannon was strong as hell, especially when Kagari went to 1.
Yeah, taking the Kagari to grab your engage back was really good. Yeah, I remember playing Striker when engage was still at 3, and then Anchor was at 1, and then all that stuff eventually got hit down really, really bad.
Yeah. Oh, I said Anchor, huh? I meant Shark Cannon.
No, you said Shark Cannon, but I remember playing the format when Anchor was at 1.
Right. Yeah, no, Anchor was at 1, huh? You know, they hit that deck so much only for them to bring it all back. And like at first I was upset because I was like, do we really need Striker back? Turns out there's a better control deck. You just gotta play Runic.
Yeah, Runic is actually just better than Striker.
Yeah, like a deck that has no battle phase as its win condition is insane.
It's stupidly insane. Fucking stun decks.
I haven't lost against Runic that much, but like I have gotten decked out by some Runic players, and it feels really bad when it happens.
Yeah, it's happened to me only twice now, and I just hate it. Only twice. In like a 3-month span, I still hate it.
Yeah, no, it does not feel good whatsoever. I will
Ain't
say
good at all.
Yeah. I will say though that the deck that I did end up enjoying the most after all that commotion ended up being Thunder Dragon, because I played it with the Chaos Dragon deck. And I think Striker Dragon was legal like at that point. Funny enough, I think Gumblar was around in that time frame, because I remember going to locals and seeing Cam play, and I was looking at his board. He was doing like Chaos Dragon stuff, you know, like back then what you ended up with the Hot Red, Harbinger, IP, Seals for sure, and all that other stuff, right? But
I remember that.
Yeah. But he also played Gumblar in the deck.
This was late 2019.
It was
right?
very late 2019. Maybe not even that late 2019. I'm trying to think.
Because I stopped playing around COVID, and the last deck I remember really playing against was that Dragon Link deck you kind of talked about.
Yeah, because it was a really fun deck. Chaos Thunder Dragons was insanely fun.
That deck was fucking cool. That deck was impressive to me.
Like you had Levy, you had Chaos Emperor Armageddon. Like, dude, there was so much. That was definitely my favorite deck of in that like at the very end of Toss format. Finally say goodbye to Strikers. We waved goodbye to Salad long time ago. Striker was technically still around, but like I think Mystic Mind ended up making that deck really toxic. And yeah, no, I mean Chaos Underdrag, like you ended up with like what, double Colossus, Harbinger, yeah, all that stuff, and then you also were able to Gumblar them. Nah, that shit was nasty.
Yeah. I think I stopped playing right before that format, so I can't speak from 2020 to to 23 whenever I started playing again. But the last format before the last ban list, so before the December ban list, was a good format for me because that format. This was right after a Rise Star got hit. It was like the fall,
Mm-hmm.
when Unchained was like the best deck. That was a really good format for me in terms of like modern wise. It's the best one I've enjoyed so far, just because how open everyone was and how much I like playing Unchained. And so that's probably been the best modern format I've been able to play so far.
I guess that format was really fun for me too, even though I hated how many different decks there were. I just said screw it, I'ma just play tier, and it did end up with me getting my first place at a regional, which was nice. Even
Yeah,
though it was a free regional, but I'll take it where I can get it.
yeah. YCS
Um,
Lubbock is you take your YCS wins when you can.
oh yeah, you take those YCS quote unquote YCS wins wherever you can. Um,
Yeah.
nah, like tier was just very fun to play around that time. You had a really good matchup against Unchained, a really good matchup against Rescue Ace, a really bad matchup against Labyrinth, depending on your side deck. But that's because like a lot of lab players started main decking DDG for the tier matchup, and I was like, oh well, I can't play in their DDG. I kind of lose here.
Mhm.
Um, but like what I really liked about that format is the fact that you could like side bestials and really benefit from it. Cause like oh man, I don't know, it's just something about playing bestials in Snake Eye format. It's like yeah, you get their IP, but it doesn't feel as good as hitting a Stovey Torby or anything like that.
Yeah, Bistils come up in a lot of rogue decks. Like Bistils are kind of worth maining because in terms of like a regional and like if you just want to top, this is off topic, I know, but like Bistils just hit so many rogue decks that you're gonna run into in the beginning rounds that is worth it to play, and then hopefully that just kind of gets you there until you like get to the top rounds, and then you'll lose out. But you can probably get your top just from maining that stuff.
Yeah, no, like absolutely.
Yeah. All
Uh,
right. Yeah.
from there, yeah, I mean, like overall, I still agree in my stance that my overall favorite format is hat format. I can say that recently Yu-Gi-Oh has been very fun, and it's just a shame that uh, a lot of players don't like it, and I could understand it, but hopefully the player count can increase, and we can just have a broader community because I don't know. I think right now if you wanted to get into it, it'd be a pretty decent time in my opinion.
I agree. I'd say it's a different decent time. Yeah, my favorite is still definitely like 2014, whether it was hat, or post duelist lines like 2014, all 2014. I just really enjoyed playing that format. It just felt like even though there was meta decks, you could still play your bum deck and play it well, and you still have a chance.
That is
Um,
true.
yeah. With the
Late 2023 was actually pretty good for a lot of rogue players.
late 23 was really good. I remember being able to just take Salad to the local after not playing for like 3 years and do okay.
Um, man, playing Pearly during that time period actually felt pretty good too.
The Yeah, the only thing I don't like about this format now is not even Snake Eyes. I mean, Snake Eyes is really oppressive. It's mainly just the amount of stun that has popped up recently as a result of Snake Eyes, and that's really it, man. Just fuck stun. It's maybe that's the only reason why this format is like more annoying for me. But I feel like stun has never been as good in any format except for now, and maybe that's just because of all the support they have. But like,
I mean,
yeah,
yeah.
pre-December, I feel like it didn't come out that much.
Well, I mean, there was definitely like stun back then. But I would have to agree with you that like, sometimes you were just able to just like play through it because you weren't playing decks like now where one normal summon and then like its effect really matters. Because back in the day, it's like what stun was T King with like I don't know, fucking like Fiendish Chain Set, and then you summon like a barrier of the Radiance or whatever the fuck, and then you just hope that your opponent doesn't draw a heavy storm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
basically, like I remember, you get out Jagged, you get out T King, or not T King, but you get out Jagged by just going, Tinky Bear Pop.
yeah, no, like legitimately. You could like I don't know. It's just like Stun really became really ass to play against when we realized, oh yeah, triple rivalry, triple goes in, triple there can be only one, triple skill drain, and like also you're playing what runic. But I guess this could be a topic for the next video for sure, because otherwise we're actually
Yeah.
gonna get into a tangent.
Yeah, I would actually just yap about this forever. Yeah, we can just end off there. 'Cause I would keep going otherwise.
All right. Well, we only went to realistically um, two topics today, which it looks like we can yap forever then. So yeah, I think we'll just pick this up on the next episode here. We'll see, if anyone else joins in. But yeah, anything else that you would like to say here, Ton?
No, nothing really. Just if anyone actually listened, god damn, we yap for a long ass time.
True. All right. Well, I'll catch you on the next one, Ton, and I'll catch everyone else who maybe listened or maybe didn't.
Yeah,
All
appreciate it.
right, bet.